The Raiders are looking to move to 3-3 overall on the season. The Pittsburgh Steelers stand in their way. What is it going to take for the Raiders to get the dub? That plus a whole lot more on Friday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for October 11th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast to get the latest edition of the show as soon as it becomes available. And as always, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you know we appreciate that. The show grows each and every day, and that's because of your support, Raider Nation, and because of the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we're on YouTube each and every day. Does a fantastic job. Could not do it without him, so we definitely appreciate him. We shout him out. He's on Twitter, at Ari Produces. I'm on Twitter as well, at your boy Q254. And we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. We'll get back to your calls and texts. We didn't have any on Thursday's show. We had crossover Thursday. So 3 segments with my man Chris Carter from Locked On Steelers and myself kind of comparing and contrasting, breaking down this game coming up on Sunday at Allegiant Stadium. So your calls and texts will come up in segment number 3 as we get back to that. Segment number 2, we'll break it down. Offense, defense, teams, coaching, all phases of the game. What is it going to take for the Raiders to have an opportunity to pick up a victory over a very stingy Steelers defense that is coming to town? We'll do that in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, just news and notes of the day, as I always do. So we'll jump right into it after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to get started today. I'll tell you more about them later on in the show. But off top, let me go ahead and go over some Raider roster moves that they made on Thursday. They signed defensive tackle Matthew Butler to the active roster from the practice squad. He's in his 3rd season with the Raiders after initially being drafted in the 5th round of 2022's draft. He's 6'3", 290 pounds. He's played in 8 career games, had 6 tackles, and a half sack. Obviously, he's being brought up because of Christian Wilkins being added to the IR. The Raiders, their depth has been hit in a major way. It really has. The defensive line for the Raiders when it was training camp in the preseason was one of the deepest areas of the team. It was the defensive line and the linebacking room. Both rooms have been hit in a major way due to injury this year. And we'll go over the injury report in a little bit. And it's very, very lengthy. There's nothing little about the injury report. But that defensive line has really been hit in a massive way. So Matthew Butler, no, he's not the next Christian Wilkins. He's not going to be a game changer. But he is going to be someone that can provide some depth and some reps when they're going to need it, because they're going to need some kind of a rotation along that Raiders defensive line. So Matthew Butler added to the active roster. Also, the Raiders signed defensive tackle, no surprise, Zach Carter to the practice squad. He was originally a 3rd-round pick by the Bengals back in 2022. He's played in 37 career games, 16 starts, has 55 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and 2 passes defense. And it's funny, when that news came out on Thursday, I tweeted out, the Raiders making, adding some more depth to their defensive tackle room. A lot of Bengals fans, man, they came for me. Oh, are you excited about him? Are you excited about him? He didn't do nothing with us. And I was like, whoa, slow down there, killer. No, I didn't say anything about being excited. I talked about the fact that the Raiders need some depth, right? The depth has been hit. So I don't really know, too much about the guy. I'd be lying to you if I act like I just knew that he was some kind of stud or whatever. But the one thing I did learn as I saw Bengal fans going back and forth on, is he good? Is he not good, is the fact that when he left the University of Florida, he was an edge rusher, and the Bengals tried to put him inside as a defensive tackle, and he hasn't really done anything or didn't really do anything with them. So I'm not too sure how Patrick Graham, how Rob Leonard actually want to use him. But again, if nothing else, he's going to be more depth. He's listed as a defensive tackle, so I'm assuming that that's what they're going to do. But, again, seeing the response from a lot of Bengals fans, it kind of made me realize that, okay, well, maybe he can kick on the outside and be an edge rusher as well. Either way, the Raiders need as much help on the defensive line as possible. He's currently on the practice squad, which doesn't mean he'll ever see the light of day of a game or even see the active roster. We don't know that, but they have another body on the practice squad as of right now. Also, the injury report. Oh, buddy, I talked about it. I talked about it on Thursday's show with Chris Carter, how it's pretty lengthy. It's lengthy for the Raiders and the Steelers, but more importantly for the Raiders, they had a lot of guys that, once again, did not participate in practice. So I'll go over it pretty quickly, because if I spend too much time, well, it'll be segment number 3 before you know it. So here we go. Devontae Adams, we know the deal. Hamstring injury, didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. He's not playing. We know that. Max Crosby, ankle injury, didn't participate on Wednesday or Thursday. definitely believe he's going to go, right? I mean, it's funny because the game that he missed against Cleveland, I was like, oh, yeah, it's going to be Max. He's no problem. He's going to go. I have no doubt that Max is going to play, even though he's now missed a game in his career. But, just seeing him go back out there against Denver last week gives me a lot of confidence that he'll be good to go. But he's really a guy that doesn't need any practice. So I'm assuming when the injury report comes out later today, he probably will not be at practice again. But I'm sure he'll play on Sunday. Obviously, that's a big deal. Divine Diablo, getting him back. Robert Spillane said in the locker room on Thursday, getting him back on the field next to him is going to be a good thing. So he has missed a few games. Divine Diablo has been a full participant. He has the oblique injury. He was full on Wednesday and Thursday, so he'll be back. So that's a plus. Tommy Eichenberg, hamstring injury. The rookie linebacker did not participate on Thursday after being limited on Wednesday, trending in the wrong direction. Michael Mayer, personal situation, no practice on Wednesday, no practice on Thursday. He's not going to play coming up on Sunday. Tyreek McAllister, shoulder injury, full-time participant on Thursday. That is a good. Jacoby Myers, ankle injury. This is concerning. Did not participate on Wednesday. Did not participate on Thursday. Vinny Bonsignore told me he talked to someone within the Raiders organization, and they said that they're just letting him rest and rehab. But you never really know until, Saturday evening how that ankle may feel. But if Devontae is not out there and Jacoby Myers is not out there, then Houston, we've got a problem, right? Because he's a really good route runner. He's a guy that can get open all the time, and Aiden O'Connell is going to need as many weapons as possible. That's one to pay attention to. Hopefully he's limited on the injury report later on today or even a full participant, but did not participate on Wednesday or Thursday. Jacoby Myers, one to pay attention to. Colton Miller, the knee and the shoulder, did not participate on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. Obviously trending in the right direction, coming off the best game that he's had of his of this year, and that wasn't even the best. That wasn't even a great performance, but it was the best performance we've seen. You need to continue to see Colton Miller trend in the right direction. Trayvon Merrick, full participant. Thayer Munford, limited. Knee and an ankle injury. He was limited. Dylan Parham with the Achilles, limited. Jackson Powers Johnson, second day in a row, did not participate, dealing with a knee injury. Another concern. Jackson Powers Johnson, unfortunately, I'm not trying to give him the injury-prone label, but he's been injured in his short career with the Raiders more than he's been on the field, right? He missed all training camp, missed all the preseason, didn't play to start the regular season, and then all of a sudden now he's didn't participate in practice on Wednesday or Thursday due to a knee injury, which is new, right? He's had a shoulder, he's had concussions, now he's got a knee. So that's one to pay attention to as well, especially with Cam Hayward and TJ Watt coming to town. That offensive line is going to need to be on point. DeCam Richardson practiced again for a limited capacity. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. DJ Turner, wide receiver, limited on Wednesday and Thursday with a hamstring. Zamir White, the running back, groin injury, did not participate Wednesday or Thursday. I don't see him playing coming up on Sunday. So you'll see a lot of Amir Abdullah. You'll see a lot of Alexander Madison. Maybe you'll see Dylan Lobby for the first time in the backfield as well. Trey Taylor, knee injury. He started out the season on IR, was limited on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday. So there could be at least more help coming at the back end of the defense. If nothing more, you'll see some special teams help from Trey Taylor. So that's a pretty lengthy injury report, as you could tell by the for the silver and black. Hopefully it starts to clean up a little bit today, but it's one of those things, man. It's the nature of the beast. And this year, all across the league, it's not exclusive to the Raiders. Spent time on this show talking about the details of the injuries and why they could be occurring. But, man, it's all bad business when you see all those injuries and guys, some key players on that injury report as well. So how are the Raiders going to find a way to give themselves the opportunity to win on Sunday? Not guaranteeing that they're going to. Obviously, Pittsburgh is a very good team coming to town. Well, we'll talk about it coming up in segment number 2 with today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple great sponsors here on the show, and the first one is Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold could earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth, any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Risk may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. I also want to tell you about Prize Picks. And I'm sure you're probably asking, wait, hold on, Prize Picks? What is Prize Picks? Well, it's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars with a B in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Right now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. That's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including Cali, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Got a lot of listeners from those states. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves the first half and does not return, don't worry. Prize Picks keeps your lineup alive. Right now, Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. So when your picks hit, you can get money in as quick as 15 minutes. All you got to do right now is download the app today, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. It's all one word to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Check it out. You got to do it. Do it right now. Again, download the app today, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. On Fridays, this is our time to shine. It's our time to kind of install the game plan. How are the Raiders going to give themselves an opportunity to win on Sunday versus the Pittsburgh Steelers? The Raiders come into this game 2-3, Pittsburgh 3-2 on a 2-game losing streak. They started off hot 3-0, and now they've lost 2 in a row. The Raiders, they've been up and down, right? Lost 1, won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 1. That's where they are right now. Obviously, Antonio Pierce, he wants to stop with all the back and forth. He wants to go on a winning streak. Well, you can't go on a winning streak of 2 until you get 1. So they're going to be tasked this week with trying to pick up the 1. So we're going to go through keys to victory in all phases of the game. We're going to start with the offense since there's been a back change. Aiden O'Connell's behind center as opposed to Gardner Minshew. So first and foremost, you've got to protect Aiden O'Connell. I mentioned TJ Watt and Cam Hayward are coming to town. Those bloodthirsty Pirates get to the quarterback. There's no doubt about that. Hayward from the defensive tackle position has 2 sacks and multiple quarterback hurries. TJ Watt, 4.5 sacks, just celebrated his 100th career sack the other day. I always get angry when I think about TJ Watt. And why do I do that? Because I always go back to the draft. The draft where TJ Watt was selected, 29th overall by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Raiders picked at number 24, and they selected Garyon Conley. Garyon Conley's not even in the league anymore. TJ Watt just celebrated his 100th sack of his career. Now, I know that's just me being petty. So, just a side note, just want to bring that up because I was angry. If anyone remembers, listening to me back in the day when that draft happened, I was angry when they drafted Garyon Conley. I'm salty that they drafted Garyon Conley, and they could have had TJ Watt, who's still in the league, thriving, and just, again, had a 100th career sack just the other day. Hopefully he does not pick up 101 on Sunday versus the Raiders. So for Aiden O'Connell, protect him. The offensive line is going to have a tall task in front of them. They got to do their very best. Injured or not, they've got to do their very best to keep Cam Hayward and TJ Watt off of Aiden O'Connell. And they do have injuries on the other side of the defensive line. So those are the 2 main dudes to pay attention to and really focus in on. And you take your chances with other guys. How else can you protect Aiden O'Connell from those dudes? Quick timing passes. And you got to do it in stride. He's got to be able to hit these guys like Jacoby if he's out there, like Brock, who's going to be out there, like Trey Tucker, like DJ Turner, whoever the pass catchers are going to be for the Silver and Black. They've got to be hit in stride so they can do something with the ball after the catch. This West Coast offense led by Luke Getsy is designed for the yak, the yards after the catch. And unfortunately, even when Gardner Minshew was having success, you weren't seeing a lot of yards after the catch. You were seeing a lot of completions, but not a lot of yards after the catch. So one of the things that can help Aiden O'Connell the most, stand in the pocket, get the ball out of his hands quickly, and get it to the wide receiver or Brock Bowers, the tight end, who's basically a glorified wide receiver, in stride so he can do something with it. I don't know how to do this. I'm not a genius. If I was, I would probably be a coach in the league and I'd be making millions. You got to find a run game somehow. I don't know how they're going to do it, right? That's going to go to Luke Getsy getting creative. Maybe that's rushing with the wide receivers, DJ Turner, Trey Tucker, like you've seen them do before. I don't know what they've got to do, right? I've been told that the change of quarterback is going to make the running game better. We'll see. I'm not sure that I sign up for that. The only thing that I can see, maybe the play action pass working a little bit because Aiden has a stronger arm. But until you can run the ball, play action pass is really hard to do. Right, so they've got to find some kind of resemblance of a run game. Again, I'm not the smartest dude in the room. I never claimed to be. I don't know how they have to do that. But their run game has been abysmal. right? And I'm talking about the West Coast offense. The run game is such a key element to it. They have to find some kind of form of running the ball. You can't ask Aiden O'Connell to drop back 54 times and throw the ball around the yard. You just can't. If you do that, guess what that is? That's a recipe for disaster. So don't do that. But with that being said, talk about the play action pass. Take a couple deep shots when available. Not saying that they're going to be available all the time. I know that we'd love to see, Aiden O'Connell stretch it out to Trey Tucker a couple times, go deep to Bowers a couple times, Jacoby Myers, whatever the case may be. You can't just force it, right? If you force it, you're going to be on your back. TJ Watt's going to get to you. Cam Hayward's going to get to you. Someone's going to get to you. And, oh, by the way, their secondary is pretty good. But if you do have an opportunity to take a shot here and there, go for it. Take that deep shot, right, just to kind of loosen up the defense a little bit, see what you got. So that's offensively. That's the keys to victory as far as I'm concerned. Defense, that's a whole nother animal. The defense for the Raiders has not been what I expected it to be. It has not been what Antonio Pierce and the coaching staff has expected it to be. And more importantly, it's not what Raider Nation has expected it to be. It just has not. It's been a big disappointment, to be 100% honest about the situation. I was very hyped up and excited about what this defense is going to look like, and it has not lived up to the billing so far. First and foremost, the biggest problem on defense, tackling. They just can't tackle. They lead the league in missed tackles. They have like 68 missed tackles on the season. That's fundamentals. I was in Costa Mesa for training camp. I was there all 17 days. Believe me, it felt like 27 days, but I was there. They were practicing fundamental football, and that's tackling. They lead the league in missed tackles with 68 of them. That's incredible. You just can't do that. Patrick Graham talked on Thursday and said, that's on me. Well, I mean, it's on you to a certain extent because you're the defensive coordinator, but those guys on the field are the ones that are doing it. They're the ones, or actually aren't doing it. You got to tackle. You've got to wrap up. So many times we see, it's not exclusive to the Raiders, but so many times we see guys punching at the ball, guys trying to rip the ball out of there, instead of just wrapping up and make a tackle. Robert Spillane is actually tied for the league lead in tackles. Well, I think he's at 54 right now. That's fantastic. Everyone else has to get their Robert Spillane on. Tackle somebody, right? That's the most frustrating thing. We talk about their run defense isn't very good. You know why? Because they're not tackling, right? I mean, again, I'm not a genius. Never claimed to be, right? Shout out to Hillsdale College. Maybe I need to apply. But I'm telling you, tackling is fundamental. Them not being able to stop the run, it's fundamental faults. They just can't tackle. I don't understand what that is. So that goes hand in hand. Tackling, clean up the tackling, be a lot more sure when it comes to the tackling, and stop the run. Najee Harris is going to come like a bull in a china shop, right? He's gonna come looking for you. He's going to come trying to run you over. That's how tough he runs. He's a dude. And then Justin Fields obviously can run as well. Matter of fact, he's got almost 200 yards rushing on the season to go with almost 1,000 yards passing. So similar to what they did with Lamar Jackson when they used that cage defense, right, where they basically don't let him get outside of the pocket. And when they rush him, they got to rush him like a cage, basically have a cage around him. So there's not too many elements and too many lanes to run in. They've got to do that. They've got to be disciplined. Only problem is no Christian Wilkins. He's not going to be there. Marcus Epps, a guy who's very sound and smart, even from the back end, right? There's certain guys that aren't going to be there. I'm glad Divine Diablo is going to be there. But, you don't have all the dudes that you had when you took on the Baltimore Ravens. So whoever's out there along that defensive line and linebackers as well, you got to use that cage defense with Justin Fields. I'm not worried about his arm too much. Like I think that's a victory when you see him go back to pass. I think the Raiders in their secondary, which is pretty sticky secondary, has a good chance to make a play. But you don't want him to get out there and start running because he is a heck of an athlete. There's no doubt about that. But to his credit, I gotta give him a tip of the cap. 5 touchdowns to 1 interception so far in the season, and he's got 3 touchdowns on the ground. So he's a dude that can get after it. So the Raiders got to do their very best to, again, like I said, cage him in there, limit his big explosive plays that he can make with his legs, and anytime he tries to make a big play with his arm, you've got to take advantage of that. Coaching. AP has got to trust AP. I got to shout out to my guy, John Train in the ATL, longtime listener of this show. Listen to the Black Hole Banter podcast. Listen to my radio show, Unnecessary Roughness, on Raider Nation Radio 920. Actually called in on Thursday and was like, Q, AP's got to trust AP. He's got to go with his gut and just trust it. Don't second guess himself. Just go. What got him that job, he needs to do. And sometimes he looks like he's a little intimidated or a little timid, not too sure what decision to make. He's got to be AP. I loved what he said that. AP needs to trust AP. Getsy, the offensive coordinator, has got to get creative, right? You got to design this offense around O'Connell. He's not a guy that's going to run around the yard, but you can roll him out. You can give him some naked boots. You can let him get those, quick hitters off. Those, take a couple steps, boom, boom, drop, boom, get it out, right? And so he's got to get creative and understand what his skill set is, which is different than Gardner Minshew's and put this offense around him and call the plays to set him up for success. And Patrick Graham, defensive coordinator, he just got to get these guys in the right position. They ultimately got to go out there and make the plays. As Lincoln Kennedy tells me all the time, Q, coaches coach, players play, right? So we can put as much as we want on the coaches. We really can, but it's those 11 dudes on defense, 11 dudes on offense that go out and make the plays. Special teams as well, obviously, right? So they've got to go out there and make it happen. But, Patrick Graham said that it's on him for the tackling and the struggles of the tackling. Okay, well, hopefully you've got those guys coached up because Pittsburgh's going to bring it, right? They're going to bring their lunch pail and their hard hat. They might not even take a lunch, right? I mean, they got that grit and grind, man. It's an old school throwback, right? We remember how it was back in the day, right? Of course, I was just on the cusp of being able to see a little bit of it, but you know what it's about. You know what the old school Steelers and old school Raiders is all about, right? I mean, it's one of those, slobber knockers, they like to call it, right? Just snot bubbles, a lot of snot bubbles, and you get punched in the mouth. That's what it's all about. It's going to be a physical, and it needs to be a very physical, fundamentally sound game played by the Raiders because the Steelers are going to bring that physicality. They're going to be fundamentally sound. They're going to be coached up right. Tomlin is a hell of a coach, and he's going to bring it. So the Raiders got their work cut out for them. I honestly don't know what to expect. I hate that it's week 6, and I really don't know what Raider team we're going to see on Sunday. Normally, I have a really good finger for it and a good idea of what I think is going to happen. I honestly don't. I really don't. When I had to pick during my radio show, Steelers or Raiders in this one, I picked the Raiders just because, I want the Raiders to win, right? I definitely want the Raiders to win and improve to 3-3. But I really couldn't give you a good argument on why they're going to win. I couldn't. And that's a shame because normally I have a pretty good idea of that. But so far, the Raiders have not shown who their identity is, and they have not shown who they are consistently. And that's a problem. AP has said it. I'm saying it. I think the team knows it. Who are you consistently needs to start to show up for the silver and black. But that's what I got for you for segment number 2, keys to victory in all phases of the game for the Raiders. And we'll see what they do. We'll see how they execute coming up on Sunday. Your calls and texts are coming up next, 707-654-4693 here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about FanDuel. And of course, you could jump into the season with FanDuel, have a lot of fun. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, if you go and pull it and open it up, the Raiders are underdogs by 3 points at home. So you know how they feel about Pittsburgh, right? Because normally you get a 3-point bump if you're at home. So right now the Steelers are 3-point favorites at Allegiant Stadium. I think that's on the strength of the Steelers defense. They have a very solid, strong defense. So there's not a lot of points that is expected to be in this game. But if for some reason all of a sudden the Raiders come out, light it up, Aiden O'Connell's looking great, and he's put 21 points up on the board, and you feel like, you know what? I think the Raiders are going to win this game easily. I'm going to take the over on this one. I see the over hitting, and I think the over under is about 36 points. Not 100% sure, but if you're feeling good, you get that hunch in the middle of the game. One, you can go check out all the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play. You can do it all in the same spot in the app where you place your bets. You'll get started off top with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed. And then when you place your first $5 bet, you're going to make all of that happen. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com. And remember, it's America's #1 sportsbook. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Start things off with a call from Jacob in Wilmington, North Carolina. He's calling to talk about Davante Adams and other players that want to come to the Silver and Black, or potentially want to come to the Silver and Black. Here he is, Jacob in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Hey, Q. Hey, Ari. I'm sure you're not going to play this. This is Jacob again from Wilmington, North Carolina. And if you would allow me, please let me talk to Davante Adams, because this is going to be an answering machine message to not only Davante, but anybody who ever wants to come to the Raiders. Do you know we got the state-of-the-art facilities here? I mean, like the Olympics are going to be held in our stadium. Oh my gosh. And do you know what else? There's no state income tax. So if you want to go to New York or New Jersey or Louisiana, do you know how much money you are going to lose going to these states? If you went to California, oh my gosh. And they're talking about restructuring your contract as it is. There's only 3 states that have no state income tax. That's Texas, Florida, and Nevada. And we got the best of it all. I mean, we got the absolute best of it all. If you are making millions of dollars and you live in Las Vegas, you are a king. Remember that. We are the Raiders. Go ahead and leave us if you want. But when we restructure your contract after this year, you're going to take substantially less as well. Because that's what you're going to have to do. You're 32. Sorry, Father Time catches up with us all. We're not immortal. Anyways, that's my little rant. I just want to win. I want players to come here who want to win, and I want them to be proud Las Vegas Raiders. Just win, baby.
Jacob, thanks for the call, my man. Never doubt yourself. Why would you doubt yourself, Jacob? You know you're guaranteed to miss a shot that you don't take. Look, I don't know what the deal is. Maybe you've called a few times and haven't got your call or text onto the show. Apologies. It's never personal. I just get a lot of them. And sometimes because I have plenty of time, I can get to a lot more of them. Other times I run out of time, similar to this show where, I went a little bit long in segment number 2. My apologies, but sometimes that happens. Again, it's nothing personal. As far as the state tax goes, that's a factor, right? The Cowboys and their front office always try to use that. Hey, we're in Texas. There's no state income tax. What I've been told by players, what I've been told by front offices and teams, that that works to a certain extent. But if they don't get you on state tax, they'll get you on something else, right? So it might not be as bad. Obviously, California is a whole different animal. You're right about that. But for the most part, especially if you're a guy like Devontae Adams or some of these superstars, they're not going to worry about it. They're not going to let state income tax, based off of where they go, if they want to go to the Raiders or they want to go somewhere else. Now, I will say the facilities, the stadium, right, the Raiders as an organization, maybe the head coach, maybe you're a fan of the team growing up, that all plays a factor into it. But, as far as like the state income tax, like I said, if they don't get you on income tax, they'll get you on something else. That's just something that they do. But, when you talk about wanting to be a Raider or don't want to be a Raider, that's facts. If you want to be a Raider, right? And I don't really blame Devontae for maybe not wanting to be a Raider right now. I mean, when he signed up to be with the Raiders, he was, one of his reasons was stability at the quarterback position. He's had 6 of them since he's been a Raider. That started in 2022. So you do the math. I mean, that's like you working at a job and your boss changes every few months. It's like, wait a minute, man, is this job stable? Right? I mean, so that's part of it. So I don't really blame him. I just, at this stage of the game, if he wants to be around, like AP kind of alluded to on Wednesday, which I think is more just trying to drive up the price and try to get what they really want. If he wants to be around, say he wants to be around. Cool. If he doesn't want to be around, that's cool too. I get it. Move on. Try to get the most you can for him. Try to continue to build your team. That's how I look at it. But thanks for the call. I do appreciate you. And hopefully it's not your last one. And hopefully it's not the last one I get to for you. But thanks for the call. I do appreciate you. Up next, I got a text from looks like the 626. Is it 626? I guess so. Q, yesterday at the end of Aiden's presser, he said, we're going to take what the defense gives us. Al Davis declared we're going to take what we want. The Raiders are no longer the aggressors on the gridiron. As fans, we hate to see the lack of intensity. The Raiders of the past used to bring that winning attitude because they believe in themselves. All great organizations have great leadership, and it seems as if the owner has the desire to win, but does not have that winning attitude. It seems as if the coaches work hard on schemes, but don't bring that fire. The players need to take wins. We all know Max has that mentality, but it takes a team, and it starts from the top. This organization needs a serious history lesson and listen to greats of the past speak of the pride and poise, commitment to excellence, and the will to win and what breeds champions. AP needs to end each speaks. AP needs to end each time he speaks. He gives to the okay, I got it. AP needs to end each speech he gives to the team, just as you end your podcast. Just win, baby. It's never the most talented, but rather the ones who want it the most. Make the Raiders great again. That's from the 626. Thanks for the text. I do appreciate you. Look, the history is not the problem. The Raiders are the organization that keeps their alumni around more than anybody. So their alumni is around the team. AP, he brings the intensity, right? I don't think that's the problem at all. I just think that they just haven't got it done, right? They've, Mark Davis, the owner, has hired a bunch of different coaches trying to find what works. He admits that he knows what he doesn't know. He doesn't know the football side of things, so he tries to hire people that do. And it's not working. It hasn't worked, right? Antonio Pierce, to me, seemed to be the guy that provides that leadership, that fire, that energy, that will to win, that commitment to excellence, all that you're talking about. It just hasn't translated on the field. A lot of that has to do with talent, though, right? And especially talent at the quarterback position and the fact that the defense hasn't lived up to the billing that we thought. If the talent was there at the quarterback position and they were averaging more points than they are per game, then you'd be seeing more winning. And if the defense was able to stop teams like we all thought they were going to, if the defense looked similar to what we saw from the Denver Broncos, it'd be a whole different conversation. But unfortunately, that's not it. So thanks so much for the text. I do appreciate you. We'll see how everything shakes out. Up next, got a call from Harrison in Austin, Texas. He's calling to give a shout-out to a longtime listener of the show. Here he is, Harrison in Austin, Texas.
Yo, Q! It's Harrison out of Austin, Texas, new booty caller. I've called a few times, but I just haven't got my call aired yet, so I still feel like I'm a new booty until that day. But I just wanted to give a real quick Raider Nation shout-out to my guy, Nate Glass. I've never met him, but I've heard him on the show before. I know he's a Steelers fan. I know it's Raiders-Steelers coming up this weekend. I can't remember if you had said that he had, maybe some medical issues going on or something like that, like a couple months ago, but I just want to give a real quick shout-out to Nate Glass, and I haven't heard him too much on the show this year, so maybe it'd be a good thing to hear from him. So if he's listening and you get a chance to play this, and hopefully we hear from Nate Glass. But other than that, hey, go Raiders!
Harrison, thanks for the call, and a new booty no more. You made the show. Shout out to Nathan Glass, man. Big Steeler fan, great listener and contributor to the show. He listens to Locked On Steelers with Chris Carter, Locked On NFL. That's actually how he found me when me and Chris Carter were doing shows together. Really good dude, man, and it's been a minute since I heard from him, but yeah, you're right. There are some challenges that he's faced in his life. He's talked about listening to the show from a hospital bed. But the one thing I know about Nate Glass from Cali, there's never been a challenge that he hasn't overcome. Right? He's a trooper. He's a strong dude. Great listener to the show and many other shows. Great contributor. He always has a lot of good things to say as well. So I'm right there with you, man. Since it's Raiders Steelers week, I'm glad you remembered him. That's awesome. It really is. That's cool. So shout out to Harrison in Austin, and definitely shout out to my guy Nathan Glass from Cali. Up next, got a text from Raider Dog in San Diego. I like that name, Raider Dog. He says, hey, Q, Raider Dog from San Diego here. When Devontae first got signed by the Raiders, I was thinking, this is it. We're finally going to have a great team again. Fast forward to today, I think Devontae is not a team player. He's very selfish and thinking of the gold jacket. He'll never win a Super Bowl because all the teams that are interested in him are no better than the Raiders. He never handled himself like Max Crosby did when all the clowns were talking smack about him not happy with the Raiders. I wish him the best, but I cannot put him as once a Raider, always a Raider. That's Raider Dog in San Diego. Wow, those are some pretty harsh words right there for Devontae Adams. And again, like I said earlier, he's had 6 quarterbacks in 2 years, right? He has only been with the Raiders since 2022. He was a guy that I know from conversations I've had with him, very excited about his opportunity to be with the Raiders. Grew up a Raider fan, wanted to get back to the West Coast so his family could see him play. Obviously wanted to help turn this Raiders around. But he is a guy that's looking for a gold jacket. He is a guy that wants to be with a quarterback that he's familiar with, whether that's Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, or other. Right? He wants to be with that guy. And look, when he was with Derek Carr with the Raiders, it didn't work out great. They put up big numbers the first year, and he had a lot of touchdowns, but didn't win a lot of games. So, I mean, to each their own. They do what they want to do. The Raiders' offense is not better without him. I wish that he was, happy with the team, and I wish that the team was succeeding with him. But unfortunately, they're not. His career is only going to be so long. He's already almost 32. So, at some point, he's going to have to hang it up. He's not going to be one of the best wide receivers in the league anymore. So he's got to maximize his time while he can. So hopefully the Raiders just, move on from him, get whatever they can from him, and help build this team up so a guy like Max Crosby doesn't come to the table one day and say, hey, my career is getting, shorter and shorter. I'm not getting any younger, and this team still isn't winning, right? I mean, Max has been a great soldier for the team, and hopefully the team rewards him with his faith and the way that he's been backing the team up his whole career. So hopefully that's what happens sooner rather than later. But I understand the feelings towards Devontae, but I think he really did try to do everything he can while he was with the team. So thanks so much for that. I appreciate you. We'll close out with a call from Rich in the 831. He's calling to talk about the quarterback position and how the play of O'Connell could potentially change the draft, the injuries around the league, and a little bit more. Here he goes. Rich in the 831.
Q, Rich from the 831. Hey, a couple quick things on the quarterback situation. I was obviously like Team Gardner, or not even Team Gardner, Team Aiden, just whoever the starter was to start the year. But now, I'd say why not? Let's see what Aiden has, because if he does well, which I know a lot of your nation wants him to, including myself. If he does well, it changes the trajectory of the draft, right? We get to draft him looking elsewhere. So I'm just hoping that he has slimmed up, like you said. So I'm hoping he can slide in the pocket and just kind of move a little bit to buy some time. On the injuries, that was my main reason for the call. I mean, you brought up a good point. You talked about it on today's podcast with the Locked On Steelers guy. You also talked with Lincoln Kennedy. Why? I know you follow college ball. I don't see those many injuries in college ball, though. I watch a lot of college football. I don't see as many injuries. And players get used in college football sometimes. I mean, backs getting fed the ball, What do we really think is going on? I like Lincoln Kennedy's response. But then I look at college football, and you can say, yeah, there's a different level of talent there. And I get that. But, I mean, you got guys in, top flight programs, getting fed the ball 20, 25 times a game, every game. They don't have a preseason. I just don't know are we getting overtrained is my thing. Are we getting overtrained in the NFL? Meaning in college football, I know they have restrictions. Could that be it? Kind of like a pitcher just throwing the baseball so many times, I don't know. I'm just curious to get your take on why we don't see it in college as we do as much as in the NFL, or at least big name players in college like we do in the NFL. Because I'm kind of concerned about that. Like, I don't want to see anybody else go down. But you look at that list, man. It's like it's a laundry list, man. It really is. It's huge. Yeah, I just wanted to get really your take on that. Kind of seeing your thoughts, comparing and contrasting both of them. I know you really have your finger on a lot of things, especially college ball. Always a pleasure, man, listening to you. It was a pleasure meeting you. I met you with my son at the Raider game. He was in the Cliff Branch jersey, which you commented on. You're a hell of a lot taller, man, than you look on YouTube. So, again, appreciate what you do, my man. Just win, baby.
Rich, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. And, yeah, when it comes to the Raiders quarterback, I don't think that what Aiden O'Connell does the rest of this year, I don't think it really matters. I think at the end of the year, when it's time for the offseason and the draft, I think the Raiders are fully invested in going and getting a quarterback. And I honestly think that they should be. I think that Aiden O'Connell could be a good quarterback. We know who Gardner Minshew is. I don't think that they're the franchise quarterbacks. I do believe that they need to dip into the draft, go get them a young stud that they feel like could be that guy that can compete with the likes of Justin Herbert, with Patrick Mahomes, with Bo Nix, right, in the division. Guys like that, a young gun that's got multiple talents, right? That's just my feeling. That's how I am. As far as the injuries go, and you're right, I do watch a lot of college football. I think there's a lot of reasons for it. One, the overtraining, like you said, I think that's part of it. Two, in college, a lot of the guys, even the stars, don't miss. They're not missing camp. They're not missing practice. They're not missing scrimmages. A couple times they'll hold a guy out here and there, but not for the most part, not really. Not to mention they have a lot deeper rosters than in the NFL as well. So, there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into the injuries, but it is obviously a lot deeper when it comes to the NFL and the big stars being injured than what you're seeing in college. Not to mention some of the big stars in college, they look at the other guys in college because they're not all stars. they just kind of run through them, right? And they're not able to, have that kind of effect that they do. When you get to the league, everybody's great. Everyone's the best of the best. And so it's a lot, stronger on stronger, faster on faster, all that. So the collisions are a lot more. So it just ramps it up. So I could see your point, but I could also see why the injuries are up. I think a lot of it has to do, like Lincoln Kennedy said, and others have told me as well, they don't do anything in the preseason. They don't do anything in training camp. Then all of a sudden they get into the regular season and they want to go full throttle and then realize that they can't. You can't just start playing football from a complete stop. So that's has a lot to do with it. But Rich, thanks so much for the call. I do appreciate you and hopefully get to meet you or meet and greet with you again at the Torch at Allegiant Stadium sooner rather than later. But that's going to do it for today's show. Went a little longer than supposed to. That happens here every once in a while. I do apologize to Ari. He's the one who's got to put in the extra work. But Raider Nation, have a fantastic weekend. If you're going to the game, I'll be at the Torch really early. Around 10 a.m., I'll do Q's Kickoff, which is the pregame to the pregame show. And I'll hang out around the Torch up until about 15 or 20 minutes before kickoff. So if you're in town, would love to meet you, love to say what's up, talk some Raider football with you. And hopefully we walk away from the stadium with a Raider victory. But we'll find out on Sunday. We'll be here to talk about it on Monday. So until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.